If you're over 60, there's a good chance one of the coffees you drink every day is not as harmless as it seems. And what makes this more concerning is, it's probably a brand you trust, something you've been drinking for years without ever thinking twice about it. But lately, you might have noticed small changes. Your sleep isn't as deep as it used to be. Your stomach feels a little more sensitive, or your heart feels slightly uneasy after your morning cup. And it's easy to assume that this is just part of getting older, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's the coffee itself. In 2026, not all coffee is made the same way anymore. Some are cleaner, more carefully sourced, while others may contain things your body no longer handles well. Now, this doesn't mean you have to give up coffee, but it does mean you may need to choose more carefully. In this video, we're going to go through 5 types of coffee that seniors may want to be more cautious with. Some of them are easy to spot, but one of them is something many people drink every single morning, thinking it's completely fine. And toward the end, we'll talk about which one may have the biggest impact over time, and what you can choose instead to feel better each day. Because when it comes to your health, small daily habits can make a much bigger difference than we expect. So take a moment, get comfortable, and let's take a closer look at the coffee choices that may be worth reconsidering. Let's start with something that many people completely overlook: high-acid coffee. Now, at first, this might not sound like a serious issue. After all, coffee has always had some level of acidity, and for years, your body may have handled it just fine. But over time, that can change. You might start noticing small things: a slight discomfort in your stomach, a burning sensation after your first cup, or even a feeling you can't quite explain, just that something doesn't feel right anymore. And it's easy to ignore these signs, because they don't feel serious at first. But this is where it becomes important. As we age, the stomach lining becomes more sensitive, and high-acid drinks can start to irritate it more easily. This irritation may not always feel strong, but over time, it can build up. And that's when you begin to notice more frequent discomfort, less enjoyment from your coffee, or even avoiding it altogether without knowing exactly why. And here's something many seniors don't realize: it's not always about how much coffee you drink. Sometimes, it's simply the type of coffee itself. Many popular, lower-cost coffee blends are made from beans that naturally have higher acidity, or are roasted in ways that make them feel sharper and more irritating on the stomach. Now, this doesn't mean you need to stop drinking coffee, but it does mean you may want to start paying attention to how your body responds. Because once you notice it, you can't really ignore it anymore. And the good news is, there are smoother, lower acid options available that feel much more comfortable and easier to enjoy every day. But before we get to those, there's another type of coffee that may be even more problematic, especially if you drink it for energy. Now, let's talk about something that many people actually rely on: strong coffee. The kind that gives you a quick boost, helps you wake up faster, and makes you feel more alert, especially in the morning. For years, this may have worked perfectly for you. But over time, something starts to change. You might notice your heart beating a little faster, a slight feeling of restlessness, or a kind of nervous energy that wasn't there before. And again, it's easy to assume this is just part of aging, but often it's not. As we get older, the body processes caffeine more slowly, which means it stays in your system longer than it used to. So that cup of strong coffee in the morning may still be affecting you, even hours later, sometimes without you realizing it. This can show up in subtle ways: your energy rising quickly, then dropping more sharply, or your sleep becoming lighter, even if you don't connect it to coffee. And here's something that often surprises people. It's not just about how late you drink coffee. Even your morning cup can still have an effect later in the day, especially if it's stronger than what your body is comfortable with now. This doesn't mean you need to avoid caffeine completely, but it does mean you may want to be more mindful of how much and how strong your coffee is. Sometimes, a slightly lighter roast or a smaller cup can make a noticeable difference in how you feel throughout the day. Because the goal isn't just to feel energized, it's to feel steady, comfortable, and balanced. And when that balance is off, your body usually tells you in quiet ways. But before you adjust your coffee habits, there's another type that many people believe is completely safe, but may actually be more concerning than expected. Now, let's talk about something that many people turn to, thinking it's the safer option. Decaf coffee. For many seniors, this feels like the perfect solution. Less caffeine, less stimulation, and hopefully, fewer side effects. But this is where things become a little more complicated, because not all decaf coffee is made the same way. In order to remove caffeine, coffee beans have to go through a process, and depending on how that process is done, it can make a difference. Some lower quality decaf coffees are processed using chemical solvents that most people never think about. Now, these substances are regulated and generally considered safe in small amounts. But over time, regular exposure may not be ideal, especially for a body that has become more sensitive. And this is where many people feel confused, because they switch to decaf, trying to do something better for their health. And in many cases, that intention is absolutely right. But the detail that often gets missed is how that coffee is processed. There are cleaner methods, like water-based processing, which tend to be gentler and more natural. But not every brand uses them. And without realizing it, you could be choosing something that isn't as clean as it appears. And there's another small detail that many people overlook. Even decaf coffee still contains a small amount of caffeine. For most people, this isn't a problem. But if your body has become more sensitive, even that small amount can still have an effect. Now again, this doesn't mean you need to avoid decaf completely. It simply means you may want to choose more carefully. Because sometimes the difference isn't obvious at first, but your body notices it over time. And speaking of things that build up over time, there's another type of coffee that may not cause immediate discomfort, but could have a longer-term impact in a way many people don't expect. Now, let's look at something that often goes unnoticed: low-quality coffee. This isn't always easy to recognize, because on the surface, many of these coffees look exactly the same. They're packaged well, they smell familiar, and they're often the most convenient choice. But what matters most is what's happening behind the scenes. Lower quality coffee is often made from beans that are not as carefully selected, or not stored under ideal conditions. And over time, that can make a difference. When coffee beans are exposed to moisture, or stored for too long, they can begin to develop natural toxins. One example of this is something called mycotoxins. These are compounds that can form when beans are not properly handled, especially during storage and transport. Now, in small amounts, they may not cause immediate symptoms, and that's what makes them easy to overlook. Because you don't feel anything right away, you assume everything is fine. But over time, your body may begin to respond in ways that are harder to trace back. You might feel more fatigued than usual. Your digestion may feel slightly off. Or you simply don't feel as well as you used to. without knowing exactly why. And this is where quality becomes important. Not necessarily expensive, but carefully sourced and properly handled. Now, this doesn't mean every affordable coffee is bad, but it does mean you may want to pay a little more attention to where your coffee is coming from. Because over time, those small differences in quality can begin to matter more than you expect. And speaking of things that are added, there's one more type of coffee that may seem appealing at first, but could be affecting your health in a very different way. Finally, let's talk about something that many people genuinely enjoy: flavored coffee. Vanilla, hazelnut, caramel. These flavors can make coffee feel smoother, more comforting, and sometimes even easier to drink. And for many people, this becomes a daily habit, something to look forward to, something that feels harmless. But this is where it's worth taking a closer look. Because in many cases, that flavor isn't coming from the coffee itself. It's often added through artificial flavoring or processed syrups that change what you're actually drinking. Now again, this doesn't mean these ingredients are immediately harmful, but over time, regular exposure can begin to matter, especially when combined with daily consumption. And there's something else that often goes unnoticed. These added flavors can make it harder to tell what the coffee itself actually feels like. You may not notice the acidity or the strength until your body starts reacting to it later. This can show up in subtle ways: slight discomfort, unusual fatigue, or just a feeling that something is off, without a clear reason why. And for seniors, this becomes more important because the body becomes more sensitive and more aware of what it takes in every day. Now, this doesn't mean you have to give up flavor completely, but it may be worth asking where that flavor is coming from. Sometimes, a simpler cup of coffee can actually feel better and more natural than something that tastes richer but is more processed. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about taste. It's about how you feel after you drink it. And when you start paying attention to that, you begin to notice patterns that were easy to miss before. And that awareness is what helps you make better choices over time. So when you look at all of this together, it's not really about avoiding coffee altogether. It's about understanding how your body responds to it now. High-acid coffee, strong high-caffeine blends, certain types of decaf, lower-quality beans, and flavored coffees. Each of these can affect you in different ways. And for many people, these effects are easy to miss because they build slowly, over time. You don't always notice it right away, but your body does, and eventually, it tells you. Sometimes through discomfort, sometimes through changes in sleep, or simply a feeling that something isn't quite right. The good news is, once you become aware of these patterns, they're often easy to adjust. A smoother coffee, a cleaner source, a gentler level of caffeine. These small changes can make a noticeable difference in how you feel each day. Because at this stage of life, comfort matters more, balance matters more, and how your body feels matters more than anything else. So the next time you reach for your coffee, take a moment to notice how it actually makes you feel. Not just right away, but a few hours later, and even at night. Because your body will usually give you the answer if you're willing to listen. If you found this helpful, consider subscribing for more simple, practical tips designed to help you stay healthy, feel better, and age well. And if you've noticed certain types of coffee that work better for you or worse for you, feel free to share your experience below. It might help someone else make a better choice too.
Thank you for spending this time with us.
And take good care of yourself.